I recorded a version of this episode a few years ago, and I felt looking back at it, I needed to redo the whole thing because the ground has shifted underneath it. So back then, the big question was whether should you start a podcast? Were there already millions of shows out there? Was the space too crowded? Was it too late? That was the question back then. Today, it's the wrong question. Because what's happened over these last few years, AI came on the scene. The robots showed up. So now there are close to 4 million podcasts. And a huge chunk of the new ones that are going up every single day are not made by people at all. A lot of times read by a voice that isn't even actually a voice. And it's uploaded by the thousands. Now, I'm not generating this for effect. Y'all know I'm not about that. But there was a stretch this year where nearly 4 out of every 10 episodes were likely AI generated in some capacity. 4 out of 10. One directory had to go through and scrub tens of thousands of fake AI generated shows just to clean up its own listings. They've even got a name for it now, Podslop. I talked about it several weeks ago here on the podcast. And basically what that is low effort, machine-made audio flooding the search results. And sometimes even video too. And let me take my coaching strategist hat off for a moment because this is an opinion I have as a listener, as a consumer of podcasts. Not only do I produce them, I love listening to them. I love learning about different things. And I cannot tell you the number of times that this has happened to me lately. I hit play on a new show, and about 60 seconds in, I'm like, wait a minute. This is such a waste of my time. This is mediocre. I could tell that it's AI generated. It's just when you produce a lot of shows and you listen to a lot of podcasts, you kind of develop that sixth sense for it. You can hear it in the tone and the quality and what they're saying. And then I realize this is all AI generated nonsense. And I close it. So the question underneath of all of this is not, is it too crowded? What I'm hearing these days from people who are like, I'm thinking about starting a podcast, but they go, hey, wait a minute. If AI can generate this in one afternoon for relatively low costs, why would anyone pay attention to me in the millions of podcasts that are out there? And that's the real fear. So let's tackle this one. And I want you to stay with me on this because the answer is opposite of what that fear is telling you. The moment where you close the mediocre AI show in disgust, that's the entire reason to start. But only if you understand what actually has changed. So we're going to talk about this honestly and truthfully, as we always do here on this show. And by the end of this episode, you're going to know whether this is exactly right for you. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Hey friend, welcome back to Christian Podcasting Secrets. I'm your host, Tammy Munson, and I am so glad that you're here today because this one is one I really want you to hear. So here's the thing I really want you to understand about kind of what's happened in the industry. Podcasting has always had a low entry barrier. That's what attracted it to so many people, myself included. We had something to say, something to share, something that we wanted to get out into the world. And we couldn't do that before podcasting because you had to rely on the media. And social media was still not like it is today. There's a whole different world. But then the barrier to entry virtually collapsed. And the barrier to what matters really went up. And let me say, it has never been easier to make a podcast for the writing, the editing, all the things. AI and AI tools can do this all in one afternoon. Cheap, fast, no experience required. That's the collapse barrier that I was talking about. But just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And just because anybody or anything that can make a podcast, the thing that actually makes the show worth listening to has gotten more rare and more valuable. And that thing is you. Yes, you, my friend. A real woman with a real voice saying the things she actually lived. So I want you to start with 3 honest questions. Not how do I start? Everybody's kind of teaching that. And honestly, the tech barely matters there anymore. You've got different podcasting studio tools with Riverside and Descript and Zencaster. And I'm not discounting any of that. I think it's great. But these 3 questions will tell you whether you should start and whether what you build will be the real thing or you're just adding more noise to the pile. So, okay, question 1. Do you have something to say or do you just want to be heard? Now, of course, these are not the same thing. Wanting to be heard is about you. Having something to say is about her, the woman on the other end of the earbuds, who needs to hear the exact thing that you know. Now, AI can want attention. But it cannot have something to say because it's never actually lived anything. It's never sat with a woman in her hardest season. It's never had its heart broken and put back together. You have. That's not a disadvantage that you're bringing to the crowded market. In 2026, it's the entire advantage. Now, if you have something to say, something that actually came out of your actual life, expertise as a coach or a strategist or an entrepreneur, I want you to keep going with this because this is your first yes. Okay. Number 2, are you willing to still be here 12 months down the road? Now, this number is one that should actually set you free because the hard fact here is fewer than 1 in 5 podcasts make it to past their first 20 episodes. Now, most shows don't die because the market was too overcrowded. They die because the person quit. They realize, wow, this is actually work and it's hard work. They don't have a system in place. They don't have a good framework for how they're going to do it. They don't know what their floor is. They treat it like a launch instead of a practice. And now with this AI flooding the industry, it makes it even more true. The truth is AI can outproduce us all. They will never outlast you in a way that truly matters because they're not faithful to anything. They don't have any discernment. They don't show up week after week for one specific woman because God put it on their heart to do that. But you can. Now, we've always talked about consistency, right? And it was always the real moat. But now it's the whole moat. If you're willing to still be here in a year, showing up for her week after week, or whatever your frequency is, that's your second yes. Okay, question number 3. Can you say the only thing that you can say? AI-generated shows are generic on purpose. They're built to be about everything, for anyone, which means they're really for no one. They read the blog post and they repeat it back. And I need to say something about this particularly because I'm watching so many people do this right now. They're feeding the machine their entire script, and they think if they just give it enough detail, enough specific instructions, enough of the right prompts, it'll come out as a complete original. But it won't. And I really want you to hear this because I really believe this matters, and I believe it's the entire thing. AI cannot create something from nothing. That's not what it's meant to do. It can only pull from what already exists, everything humans have already made and put out into the world. And it remixes that and it hands it back to you. And it's a very fast, very confident copy machine. It is not a source, and it never will be because it's never lived a single day. You have to give it everything. And here's the deeper piece of that. AI has no discernment. We've talked about this many times before, and it's a hill I'm willing to die on. It has no discernment, none. It cannot tell you what a hurting woman actually needs to hear at 11 o'clock on a random Tuesday night. It has no spirit. It has no conscience. It has no lived wisdom to draw from it. It just predicts the next likely thing. That's it. It's a tool to be used. But here's the thing. You have discernment. You have the Holy Spirit. You have 20, 30 years of actually living and walking with God, of learning things the hard way. We've all had these really hard seasons. Some more recently than others, but we've all had them. When you sit down at that microphone, you are bringing something to the table that does not exist anywhere in AI and never can. You can create something from nothing, but you were made in the image of the one who did exactly that. So that specificity that you have, it used to be a nice to have. Now it's the thing that cannot be copied. A machine can scrape what's already out there. It cannot generate what only happened to you. And it cannot discern what only you know how to say. If you can name the thing that you can only say, the thing that would sound false in anybody else's mouth, that's your third yes. Something to say, willing to last, and something that is only specific to you, 3 honest yeses, that's not a person who should worry about the crowded market. That's a person the crowded market actually needs. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the part that's underneath all of this, because this is not necessarily a strategy conversation. I think it's a calling conversation. For years, the enemy's favorite lie to keep you quiet was the space is too crowded, somebody's already doing it, you're too late. And now he's got an even shinier version of that. Why even bother? The robots have taken over. It's all about AI now. That's all the noise. Your little voice won't matter in any of that. And friends, I want you to hear me, because I think that's the same old lie, just wearing a new outfit. Because think about what's actually true. In a world drowning in fake voices, God is not looking for more content. He's looking for faithful people willing to say true things out loud. A real testimony, a real woman who has walked through something and can share her story with another woman to know that she's not alone. AI can't do that. Not now, not ever. It can imitate the words. It cannot carry the spirit behind them. So the flood of artificial noise is not a reason to stay silent. It's the exact reason your real voice matters more than it ever has. The world has never had more counterfeit, which means it's never needed the genuine article even more. You were not made to compete with AI on max volume. You were made to say the true thing that only you can say faithfully to the one woman God sends. That does not change anything. It just got holy. Okay, now what do I actually want you to do with all of this? So here's the practical steps. 1, answer the 3 questions that we talked about honestly out loud. Do I have something to say, or do I want to be heard? Am I willing to still be here in a year? Can I name the thing only I can say? And if you get the 3 yeses, honestly, you have your answer and it's a go. 2, write down the only thing that you can say. 1 sentence, that's all it needs. Doesn't need a whole paragraph or, a 2,000 word blog post. The thing that came out of your actual life that would sound false coming from anybody else. If you can write that sentence, you have the seed of a show no AI tool can touch. Number 3, decide your bare minimum rhythm. Make it survivable. We call this the floor. Now, it's not the ambitious rhythm. It's not the rhythm when you're super jazzed about your upcoming project. This is the one that you can still keep on your worst week. This is not, I'm going to do a daily podcast or I'm going to do a weekly podcast. If your rhythm is, I know that I can do a twice a month podcast, then do the twice a month podcast. It's still a podcast. A short episode is a real episode. Episodes don't need to be 30, 45, 60 minutes in length. They can be 10. There's podcasts out there that only talk for 5 minutes. It's still valuable to that listener. So pick the pace that you know that you can be faithful to for the 12 months, because faithful is the whole game now. faithful and consistency. It's the whole game. Number 4, do not let AI become your actual voice. Now, I am not anti-AI. I love AI. We use it within our company on the daily. It does help us be more productive with things. But here's the rule. Use AI for anything that carries your voice to people, never for anything that replaces it. So if you want to give AI all the blog posts you've ever written, all the past episodes to teach it to learn your voice, go for it. But never use it to replace your voice. So all that boring stuff, the parts that were always just logistics, go ahead. Cleaning up the audio, pulling a transcript, drafting the show notes from what you've already said, looking for a hook or a clip from Instagram. That's a tool carrying your voice further. Fine, good even. I know I have my sassy pants on today, but the moment that it is generating the words for you, writing the script, being the voice, deciding what you think and what you stand for, that's a line. Like I said, that's a hill I'm willing to die on. Then it becomes not a tool anymore. That's just replacement. And the second you hand it your voice, you become the very noise you were supposed to be the answer to. Carry your voice? Yes. Replaces your voice? Never. That's the whole thing. And listen, if you work through those questions and you got your 3 yeses and something in you kind of sat up a little bit, I don't want to leave you standing at the starting line without a map. So, as I've mentioned here on the show, I have a free podcast launch guide exactly for you. Now, this is for the one who just realized it's a yes. And this guide walks you through the real steps from idea to actually publishing your first episode. The gear that actually matters and the gear that doesn't. I don't expect you to buy super expensive gear. And it also gives you a simple plan to get your podcast published without all the overwhelm that's involved. No machine wrote that. 20 years of doing this wrote that. And it's completely free. Go head on over to the website, wildfirecreativecompany.com/podcast launch guide. And I'll drop the link in the show notes for you. And that's your next step after you finish listening to this episode. One thing I would urge you to do is this. I want you to record 5 minutes of the one thing only you can say. Not a whole episode, not a launch, not a trailer. 5 minutes on your phone of the truest thing you have got to say. The story, the word, the thing you'd want another woman to hear if she was sitting across from you. Then listen back to it. I know that's hard to do, but I want you to do that and notice something no machine could have ever made that. It has your life in it, your voice, your face, your personality. That 5 minutes is proof you have exactly what this flooded, AI-soaked, noisy podcast world is actually starving for. So friend, if you have been standing at the edge of this for a while, wondering, did I miss my window? And now the worry has gotten louder because now it's not just other people making podcasts, it's AI making podcasts by the thousands, and they can make your voice feel small. I want you to hear me. You did not miss this window. The window just changed shape. The world got flooded with counterfeit and fakeness. And that made the real thing even more rare. And you are the real thing. A true voice, a lived story, a faithful woman willing to show up. And that, my friend, is the one thing with all the technology in the world cannot manufacture. So no, this might not be for everybody. And it might not be for you. And that's okay. But you've got something to say. And you're willing to say it. And only you can say it. So friend, the noise isn't your enemy. It's your invitation. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this episode was helpful for you. If this brought up additional questions, please shoot us a DM over on Instagram at Wildfire Creative Co. Or you can always email me at tammy@wildfirecreativecompany.com. And I would love to hear from you. Remember, you can love Jesus and analytics. And life, my friend, is way too short for boring podcasts. I'll talk with you next time. Bye, y'all.